Today, I'm going to be taking a look at rare and/or more expensive Xbox 360 games that are worth buying at their current book value, in my opinion. In no particular order, the first game on today's list is Monster Jam Path of Destruction. This one is currently going for $24 CIB on average according to Pricecharting. Now, this game doesn't really have any sort of a story to it, but it is a very fun, a very rewarding, and a very replayable game, and I was really surprised by how much fun that Path of Destruction is. Now, I initially actually bought this game for my wife as a birthday present for her, and I ended up playing it way more than she did. Now, of course, we did play this game together some. There is a local co-op and a versus mode, and this game has a ton of single-player modes as well. There are monster truck racing events, there are stunt challenges, just freestyle events, and you can play said events on any of 3 difficulties. And you do earn XP and medals for completing events, which you need to advance, of course. And as you unlock new levels, you unlock new trucks, and you can also unlock new car parts. You can make your own custom trucks, and it's just really fun. And this game, like I said, it has a XP system, and you can level up a maximum of 20 times, and you beat the game by finishing the 3 main cup events. And this game has a lot of fun free play modes and just tons of really rewarding achievements. Now, the controls do take some getting used to, but it is well worth it. Graphically, this game looks really good. The trucks are all really detailed. The soundtrack is pretty good. Now, this game never had any sort of a online mode, but at least there are no online only achievements. Now, this game is not backwards compatible. You will need a actual 360 to play it, but even if you don't like monster trucks like myself, this game is a blast. Definitely worth $24. Alrighty, moving over to the second game on today's list, Alice Madness Returns. This one is averaging $37 CIB on Pricecharting, and it is definitely worth checking out. This game has an amazing story. Now, that being said, this game is a sequel to American McGee's Alice, but just with the way that this game is, you don't really need to play the first game. If you skip the first game, you're gonna be just fine. Now, that being said, on consoles, the first game is actually free to download and play via DLC. Now, some achievements are locked to the first game, but again, it is free. Anyways, moving over to Madness Returns, this game is certainly heavily inspired by Alice in Wonderland, and the levels, they are beautiful yet demented. American McGee and his team did a great job designing the world of this game. Now, this is a horror game, and it's not really like a scary horror game. You know, it's not like something like Dead Space or a Vincent Lade game where it's just constant horror left and right. This is more of a slow burn horror that mostly comes from the story, and again, the story is great. Now, gameplay wise, this is a hack and slash platformer, and as far as the combat, you have 2 melee weapons, a couple of ranged weapons, and time bombs, all with DLC variants. Well, except for the bombs, there's no DLC variant there, but the rest of your weapons have some sort of a DLC variant. And you also have this Rage Hysteria mode, in which Alice basically goes ballistic and she is invincible and she deals hyper damage. That was certainly really cool in my opinion. Moving over to a similar topic, I want to talk about Alice's dresses. So these dresses basically give you special abilities, and there are a bunch of free on disc dresses and also several DLC dresses. Now, you unlock a new dress with every single level, but you can't actually use their special powers until you play on New Game Plus. And these powers will be things like getting extra health, or one of the DLC dresses allows you to use Hysteria at any time, and you can definitely grease combat with that. Now, this game does have a lot of collectibles, which might do things like add insight to the story, or can be used towards unlocking concept art. And you know how a lot of games have, like, I don't know, collect 100 stars to get a new life? This game has something a little bit different in which you collect teeth, which you can use to upgrade your weapons. Certainly a very interesting idea there. Now, as of right now, I have 96 total percent completion of this game without using any tutorials. I do want to 100% this game on my own, but finding all the collectibles is certainly a little bit of work. I've beaten this game several times. It has a great soundtrack, great voice actors. This game is amazing. It's about 8-ish hours long, but it's very replayable in my opinion. It's one of my favorite horror games, and this one is backwards compatible. It's like $20 digitally. 100% worth checking out, but do not get the PC version. The PC version is a absolute broken, buggy mess, and also the DLCs aren't on PC. This is certainly one to get on console. Again, it's $37 CIB physically or $20 digitally. It's worth either of these. It's a great game. Alrighty, moving over to the third game on today's list, another hack and slash, and that is Lollipop Chainsaw. This one is currently going for $35 CIB. I think I paid like $40 for mine, and this game is amazing. Now, the story is really wonky. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, you play as a teenage cheerleader on her birthday who with a living decapitated head for a boyfriend, and she saves the world from the zombie apocalypse. That is amazing and really far out there in the best way possible. Now, that being said, this game actually has two endings, a good and a bad ending. I've gotten both endings, and I don't know how you actually get either ending. I've gotten both of them, and I don't know what you have to do. I don't know how I got either one of them, but again, having two endings, that's pretty cool. Obviously, the good ending is, well, the good ending, and yeah, a pretty good story in my opinion. Now, moving over to the combat. This game has amazing combat. There are a lot of combos and attacks for you to learn. Of course, you can get by well enough as a beginner by just like button mashing Y over and over again, but as you progress, you can get new combos, which certainly make the game a lot better. And in addition to your chainsaw, you have a shotgun attachment, you have pom-poms, certainly some very creative weapons. Now, moving over to talk about the enemies of this game, there are a ton of different zombie types. There are zombie cops, zombie firefighters, hazmat zombies, chicken zombies, and this game has some really creative boss fights like fighting a giant hippie zombie, rockstar zombies, a Viking zombie. This game is indeed very creative. And this game has a upgrade system in which you collect money by either killing zombies or just finding it lying around, and you can buy things like new attacks, health upgrades, just upgrades in general, new costumes, stuff like that. Now, this is a shorter game. It's only like 6 hours long, but it is very replayable. Now, this game never had any sort of a multiplayer function, but it does have online leaderboards, which thankfully are still up to this very day. Graphically, this game looks pretty good. It's not the best looking 360 game, but it looks above average. That much is for sure. This game has some amazing voice actors. It is one of my favorite games of all time. I've beaten it several times, and I will say that in my opinion, the original is much better than the remaster. Now, the original game is not backwards compatible, and I really think that this one is better than the remaster. It was remastered 2 years ago, I think, in the form of Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, which you can play on modern consoles. The original's just better. It just feels better. Obviously, it has the original soundtrack. It has some costumes that are not present in the remaster due to licensing issues. Only play the remaster if you can't get your hands on the original or if you don't have a Xbox 360 or a PS3. But Lollipop Chainsaw, it is a great game. I love it. Alrighty, moving over to the fourth game on today's list. Not necessarily a rare game, but it is a pricey-er game, being Batman Arkham Origins. This one is going for $18 CIB, so not too pricey, but it's still not the cheapest thing in the world. Now, combat-wise, this game is pretty similar to Arkham City, which was the game in the series released before this. This is a 3D action game in which you play as, of course, Batman. This game has amazing hand-to-hand fighting. It has a free-flow combat system which consists of like blocking attacks, dodging attacks, striking enemies, and you can throw in some gadgets every now and then like Batman's batarangs or glue grenades, and also you have special moves like a group attack or a one-hitter quitter to instantly knock out a single enemy. And there are some really cool stealth predator sections in which you have to quietly take out a group of heavily armed enemies, and I'm not the best at stealth, but it's very satisfying and it is very fun. Now, the story to this game isn't perfect. I do think that the previous game had a much better story, but the story is still okay. Now, I must note that this game has a huge open world. Now, that being said, the open world does kind of feel somewhat empty. It doesn't feel like there's a lot going on versus the previous game, Arkham City, which had a smaller world, but it was a lot more dense. Now, that being said, Arkham Origins still does have a decent amount of side content. There are things like side missions, like fighting the Mad Hatter or the villain Enigma, and there are some side challenge maps that you can do, like having to fight waves of enemies in hand-to-hand combat or stealth predator encounters that you have to complete as quickly as possible while doing challenges, such as don't get detected, don't take any damage, take out this enemy first, stuff like that. And these challenge maps definitely help add some extra fluff to this game in a good way. I've beat Arkham Origins several times. It is a great game. It has a lot of really good boss fights, such as fighting Bane or Firefly or Killer Croc. Ultimately, I do think that Arkham City is a better game than Arkham Origins, but Arkham Origins is still a great game. Graphically, this title looks okay. Now, it could get a little bit laggy every now and then, especially while you were in the open world itself. Like, if you were in a building, the game generally ran pretty smoothly, but if you were out in the open, you will get a little bit of lag every now and then, but it's never anything too bad. This game has an amazing soundtrack and some pretty good voice actors. Now, this game did have multiplayer at one point, but it has been shut down. I did try to play it once or twice back in the day, and it was pretty vacant, so I do see why they pulled the plug on it, because like nobody was playing it. Now, this one is backwards compatible on newer consoles, but you will need a actual physical copy of the game itself, as the game, along with its DLCs, have been delisted off of Xbox. They're still on Steam for whatever reason, but if you want to play this game on a Xbox One or Series X, you need to have bought it digitally before it was delisted, or to have an actual disc of it. Now, this game does come with 3 avatar awards, being some outfits, which are definitely a nice bonus. Arkham Origins, not my favorite Batman game, but it is great and well worth $18. Alrighty, going over to the number 5 spot on today's list, Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition. This one is going for $41 CIB, and this game is well worth it. This is my favorite video game ever. I have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours playing Fallout New Vegas. This is a gift that keeps on giving. There is just so much to do in Fallout New Vegas, and the DLCs that come along with the Ultimate Edition add just tons and tons and tons of extra content. It's like some of these DLCs could be their own standalone game. Like, this game, especially with the DLCs, there is just so much to do. And for the main story, there are several different paths you can take. I've beaten this game at least 3 times, taking at least 3 different paths, and this game is largely open to however you want to play it. You can play this as like a melee weapons expert, a explosive weapons expert, a big gun or a small gun expert. Fallout New Vegas it's just really open as to how you want to play it.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
And while this game does have several difficulty options, there is a normal and a hardcore game mode. So basically, if you choose to play this game on hardcore, it basically adds some survival elements, like you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to drink water, etc. And the hardcore mode also makes your ammo have weight, basically. In the normal mode, your ammo weighs nothing, but if you play it in hardcore, it will have weight, and you have to choose what weapons you use a lot more wisely. Now, this doesn't really affect me too much, as I really like the melee combat in this game. Now, that being said, there are some really cool guns that I like, especially the riot shotgun, but normally whenever I start a new game, I almost always play it with melee weapons, and this game has some amazing, solid melee combat, and I love the DLC weapon, the Nuka Breaker. While it's not the best melee weapon in the game, it is just fun to use. It's a giant Nuka-Cola sign. A Nuka-Cola is a soda in the Fallout world, and this weapon is just fun to use. And this game is just so replayable. Again, there is just so much to do in it, and this game has a huge open world, and it is just filled to the brim with life and locations and side content. There is just so much to do in this game, and this game has an insane amount of individual physical objects compared to the previous game in the series, Fallout 3. What I mean by this is, in Fallout New Vegas, there are tons of weapons, armor, food items, and in the previous game, Fallout 3, you were pretty limited. You know, there weren't a ton of guns, there weren't a ton of armor options, there weren't a ton of food items, and Fallout New Vegas just has so many more individual things in it. And this game is so impressive when you consider that it was made in something like, 18 months? This game was developed in a mad rush, and for it to be as good as it is with all the content in it, it's very impressive. Again, this game is super replayable. It is worth every single penny. Now, this game is backwards compatible on newer Xbox consoles, and I have a lot of great memories with this game, a lot of nostalgia. Fallout New Vegas, it is the GOAT in my opinion. Now, moving over to the number 6 spot on today's list, Wolfenstein 2009. This is a cheaper game on today's list, going for $18 CIB. This is a World War II first-person shooter with some sci-fi elements. It's kinda similar to Singularity gameplay-wise. Now, the ungrounded theme of this game really caught me by surprise, as this was pretty much the first Wolfenstein game that I ever played, and I was expecting it to be a more grounded, a more realistic World War II game, but even with that, this is still a pretty neat game. And this game has a power system, which is why I said it's kind of similar to Singularity. You have like a shield, a hyper damage ability, the ability to slow time, and this game has a pretty fair gun selection. You have like a Kar 98K, an MP43, an MP40, so you know, some of the staples of a World War II game. But this game also has a lot of wonder weapons, and you can customize your guns quite a bit. Now, I played this one on hard for an achievement, and this game certainly does have some tough bosses and quite a bit of enemy variety. The story was okay. This game is like 7-ish hours long. It's not the best thing ever, but it's worth grabbing, and this game is not backwards compatible. And I just want to pause here and say, if you've made it this far, it really means a lot to me. I know that I don't have the best voice or the best mic, and that I have a lot of voice cracks, and that my voice clicks, so if you've made it this far into the video, it truly does mean a lot. Now, moving over to the number 7 spot on today's list, Deadly Premonition. This one is going for $43 CIB, and this is a very unique game. This one was a timed exclusive to the Xbox 360, which for the developer's sake was probably for the best. Now, the Xbox version is considered largely by the Deadly Premonition fanbase to be the best version of the game, even above PC. But yeah, I've only ever played the Xbox version, but if what I've heard is true, it definitely does make sense that the developers release the 360 version first, like a good month before PS3 and PC. That way the best version of the game would have been on the market first, with the best chance of getting good reviews. Now, this is a open world survival horror third-person shooter, and it is certainly a very interesting game. Now, about the open world. This game has probably the wonkiest map I have ever seen in a video game. So Deadly Premonition doesn't give you a ton of objective markers, and you mostly have to use your map to find your way around. Hey, that's cool, there's nothing wrong with that. But unlike in most games, you can't zoom your map all the way out, so it's really hard to plan your route using the in-game map. But it gets worse. You know how like in most games, your map always stays north side up? In this game, your map, whatever side is up, changes based off of what direction your character is looking in, and this game will drive you insane with its map system. If you're going to play this game, find a physical map. I personally just printed one off the internet. I will say that for this game, that's one of its biggest drawbacks. The map is just absolute bonkers, but once you get over that, this game is pretty good in my opinion. Now, in this game, everything is on a timer. Now, it's not like super chaotic like Dead Rising, but you do have to keep an eye on your clock. And this game also has some very immersive elements to it. Basically, you have to make sure that your character has enough to eat. You have to make sure that he gets enough sleep. You have to change your clothes. You have to shave. And this certainly added some very immersive elements to the game, and I think that this game was inspired, at least in part, by Shenmue. Now, the combat to this game is pretty interesting. Again, it's kind of like a third-person shooter. There are some melee weapons, but you will primarily use guns in this game, especially since you have an infinite ammo pistol. And the combat was certainly pretty interesting. Now, this game has a day and night cycle. Remember how I said that everything is on a timer? Well, this is part of that. During the day, everything is nice and calm, nice and just happy, and whenever it's nighttime, that's when the horror elements really come into play. And yeah, this is certainly an interesting game, and there are a lot of driving sections in this game, and you do have to keep an eye on your gas meter. You know, in most games you have unlimited gas, but in Deadly Premonition, you gotta make sure that you have a full tank, and gas is like $5 a gallon in this game, and it goes by pretty fast, but thankfully it is easy to earn money. Anyways, this game has a lot of side quests, a lot of side content. Deadly Premonition is really a one-of-a-kind game. Now, the story is really good. It has a intense and a twist-filled story where you're playing as a FBI agent who is investigating a chain of serial murders. The game is very immersive, very attention-grabbing, and it had a lot of moments that I did not expect. This game has some very interesting boss battles, and this is a pretty lengthy game. The main story is like 12 hours long at least, I think. but this is definitely worth checking out. Now, this game is backwards compatible on modern consoles, and you can get it digitally for $20. I personally think that this game is worth the $43 for a physical copy, but $43 or $20, both are great prices. Check out Deadly Premonition. Alrighty, moving to the number 8 spot on today's list, Splatterhouse. This one is currently going for about $52 CIB. Now, a quick note here, this is a very gruesome game, and because of that and YouTube's policies against hyper-violent games, some clips will be shown in black and white or completely censored. Anyways, this game has amazing combat, and the story is really good too. The ending felt kind of rushed. The ending wasn't the best thing in the world, but the story is overall pretty good. But back to combat, this is a third-person beat-em-up with hack-and-slash elements. And basically, you are a giant juggernaut with cool moves. You have just simple punches, you have brutal attacks, or strong heavy attacks, I guess I should say. You have grab attacks, and this game's signature splatter kills. Now, these splatter kills are very gruesome. It's like ripping an enemy's arms off or ripping their head off. Certainly some pretty gruesome stuff. And this game has a very gruesome system in which you collect blood to restore your HP, and you also have a blood meter which you use to pay for special moves and also to activate your rage mode. Now, this is primarily a beat 'em up where you just use your bare fist, but you will find weapons lying around like machetes, chainsaws, baseball bats, or you can just pick up the dismembered limbs of your fallen foes and use that as a weapon. Anyways, this game is a pretty cool upgrade system. You can get more health, upgrade your blood meter to maximize its capacity. Now, there's one upgrade that I think you really need to get if you're playing this game for the first time, being the one that makes you invincible while you're rolling. That one is very useful for boss fights. Anyways, while this is primarily a 3D third-person game, this title does have some 2D sections, which kind of reminded me of the game Final Exam, and this was certainly a callback to Splatterhouse's roots of being a 2D beat-em-up, and this game does have some light platforming elements. Now, as far as side modes, this game has a survival mode, in which basically you have to survive in a room for 20 waves of non-stop carnage while heavy metal music plays in the background. I believe there are 5 maps off the top of my head. There were some DLC maps, but they were sadly delisted. And as another bonus, you can unlock the first 3 Splatterhouse games in the series, and this was pretty much the only real re-release that those games have gotten. So yeah, basically you get 4 games whenever you buy Splatterhouse 2010. I would have loved this game as a teenager. You know, playing this game, I was like, man, edgelord teenager me would have loved this game. It's about 10 hours long as far as the main story goes, and this game is amazing. Now, this game does have a Xbox 360 exclusive cosmetic mask. It doesn't really do anything, but it does look cool, and this game has a lot of fun achievements. And in my opinion, Splatterhouse is a must-buy game for horror fans, and the soundtrack is great, lots of rock music and heavy metal. This game has beautiful cutscenes. Now, this game is not backwards compatible, and it can get a little laggy every now and then, but Splatterhouse is well worth $52. I actually paid like $70 for my copy, and this game was worth $70. Now, this one did have a pretty rocky development, which ended with at least 2 companies closing, Bottle Rocket and another company. Now, basically, the reason that Bottle Rocket kind of got the axe here was because they were refusing to do what Bandai Namco wanted them to do, and Bandai Namco eventually just yanked the game from them, and then they went belly up. And after that, Namco made a new company solely for the purpose of finishing the game. They finished the game along with another team. They got out the door, and sadly this one did not sell well. It got pretty nasty reviews, but I love this game. I think it's great. Now, for the next several games on today's list, I must note that I no longer actually own these games, so I am just going to show footage from adjacent games or similar games that I do still own. Anyways, coming in at the number 9 spot, we have Blur. This one is going for $47 CIB. And I really regret selling my copy of this game, especially since I sold it at a very low price. Anyways, this game has amazing graphics, it's very atmospheric, it has several game modes, and quite a few kart racer elements. And apparently the multiplayer on this one is still pretty active, believe it or not. It's not backwards compatible, but it did come with some cool avatar awards. Blur, really cool game. Alrighty, moving over to the number 10 spot on today's list, Jurassic the Hunted. I'll probably have some footage of like Turok in the background. This one is going for $20 CIB, and it is a amazing short first-person shooter. You can beat it in like 4 hours. It's a dino shooter. This game is just simple, dumb, fun, and it has a banger heavy metal rock soundtrack. This is really a hidden gem in my opinion. That being said, the story is kind of weak, but this one does have a amazing horde survival mode, but it is not backwards compatible. Now, I have a bit of a story about selling this one. So some of y'all know that I do live in Europe, and when I was fixing to move here, I almost brought my copy of this game with me, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna sell it and buy another copy in Europe later. That was stupid. This game only released in North America, so the chances of me finding a copy of it here are pretty slim. If I ever go back and visit America, I'm certainly going to grab a copy of this game, as it is amazing and I really regret selling it. And coming in at the number 11 spot, X-Men Origins Wolverine, the movie tie-in game. This one is going for $60 CIB. This is a very gruesome hack and slash game. It's not quite as gruesome as something like Splatterhouse, but this is still a pretty gruesome game. Now, like I said, this is a movie tie-in game that released with the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie. I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, but I did kind of like it. You know, it had some decent moments here and there. Now, this game can be repetitive, but it is really fun in my opinion, but sadly it is not backwards compatible. Now, I do wonder if the upcoming PS5 Wolverine game has possibly affected the price of this game, because for one, this is just a great game, but also with the upcoming Wolverine game, maybe some people are like, ooh, this looks interesting, now I want to go play a Wolverine game, but I don't want to wait. Ooh, here's this one on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. I don't know, but this game is amazing, and I really do regret selling it. Alrighty, coming in at the number 12 spot, the last game on today's list, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. This one is going for $47 CIB, and it was a Xbox 360 launch title. I want to say that this was the first ever open world Tony Hawk game. I'm not a big fan of this series, but this was just a fun game to own. I would pick it up every now and then and just mess around with it. This game, again, it was just fun to own, and this was a next-gen exclusive, if that makes sense. Like, this game came out on like the PS2, the GameCube, the Xbox original, but it was only a exclusive game, or it was only a next-gen game for the Xbox 360, and this one is not backwards compatible. Again, I'm not a big skateboarding game fan, but this one was just fun to own and to just mess around with. And yeah, 12 rare and or more expensive Xbox 360 games that are worth their current book value in my opinion. Ooh, this has been a long one, y'all. I'm currently at about 38 minutes of recording. That being said, I'm going to have to edit out quite a bit of this, you know, mistake audios and retakes and whatnot. And if you cannot tell, this video was not scripted. I do have some notes, but not a full script. And for those new here, I mostly review and discuss Xbox 360 games, and this is actually a follow-up video to a video I recently did, which was rare and expensive Xbox 360 games that are not worth buying at their current book value. If you want to check out that video, there will be a link to it in the pinned comment. And I was planning on making this video anyways, but Joker Tuts, I hope I said that right, requested that I make this video, and I was going to make this one anyways, but that request was just a bit of an extra nudge. And this video is going to be a lot of work, and it has been a lot of work so far, and I've still got a lot more to do. I hope y'all enjoyed, and feel free to follow me on GameRam for hints at upcoming videos and behind the scenes stuff. Now, as far as our Bible verse of the day, I read Luke 16:17 NIV. It is easier for heaven and earth to disappear than for the least stroke of a pen to drop out of the law. And like always, all of my videos are made by me, and I never give permission for my voice and likeness to be copied and altered by robots in any way, shape, or form. My voice is dying, and I gotta go use the bathroom, so peace. Moving over to a similar topic, I want to talk about Alice's which you basically have to quietly take out a group of